So this may actually be two beliefs. One
Could
that has a positive bias and one that has a slightly more shrewd bias,
Yeah.
right? It's possible.
Possibly, yeah.
Possible two beliefs. I can leave that with an asterisk for the time being. I don't need to dive any deeper yet. I would probably want to do some housekeeping on this one before I figure that out further. But right now, let's just make sure we have these three basic categories taken care of. So
Okay.
we have down here, is getting all of the knowns, sorry, all of the known unknowns resolved. Is that about trust and vulnerability? Or is that about confidence or something like,
It's definitely not trust and vulnerability. Now that
okay.
it's
So you're discerning. Let's go through the whole if then. You're
Yep.
discerning and you're conversing about unknowns and you've got all the questions answered, or you figure them out using your own implications or deductive reasoning. Then all the unknowns got resolved. So now you really genuinely know them well enough to discern.
yeah, the feeling is completion.
Yes. Okay. I like that very much. Should I add an action there? You got all unknowns got resolved. Should we say know the person well now?
Yeah. I would have said better, but yeah.
Oh, there's no would have. It's your model.
Okay. And yes, better. Know the person better now.
Okay.
Damn it.
So let's do a full check with you. So let's say you're discerning, you're conversing about some unknowns, you got all your questions answered, or you figured them out, and then all the unknowns got resolved, and now you know the person better.
Yeah.
Which is about completion for you.
Yep.
Okay. Well done. Thank you very much. Okay, good, good, good. And of course, this belief, which may be multiple, but is a category of belief for now, is if you're discerning and you're conversing about some unknowns and you get some of your questions answered and they don't know an answer or they withhold answers to some questions, then some unknowns got resolved and other unknowns remain unresolved. So you're kind of in an incomplete state at this point, but you may know enough to make some decisions, right? So this for you feels like progress.
Yeah, and maybe I would say some progress because I feel more committed to that when I say that.
So some progress, I could put some progress up here, but that's not really a value statement.
Okay.
Right? So some progress would be a description.
I mean, progress works because it's neither. It's sort of progress can be taken either way. So
Yeah.
the word is flexible enough.
I mean, I would just as soon leave progress there or replace it with some word if it fits better for you, something like
Let's leave progress there by
momentum.
itself because I feel like it can mean two different things in this.
Yeah. We could also use movement or momentum if that fits better for you.
I think I still like progress.
Then that's the one we keep.
Yeah.
Very nice. So progress is the value. Some progress is a description of how far you are in the process. There's an important distinction. Progress is the purpose behind getting some resolved things now and deferring until later. So there's something else here, which I think you're probably doing, and I'm going to check with you, but I want to type it out first, if that's all right. Choose to revisit sometime later. So I think here, you don't like to leave these unresolved, so these unknowns unresolved.
I do not.
So you're going to need to choose to revisit sometime later.
I always do.
Okay, so that's an example I mean, I don't know if we want to be playing with changing the text here. This is something I'm sort of exploring in genius mapping as an idea, is should we, when we come across unconscious conditions and or results, and we identify them, should we put them in as a different color text, largely as a way of representing why is this different than flowcharting? Why is this different from just interviewing somebody and finding out what they think they know? Because this is something that I would never have learned from you if all I did was listen to you.
True.
As smart as you are, and you are, that line would never have come across to me. And the same is true of some of the other conditions that we come across, is that the nature of this process is that it pulls out the stuff that people don't know they know. I love those moments. It's great.
Me too. And
Okay.
I'm realizing as you're saying this, I felt the impulse to tell you about this particular belief system here, that I'm pretty damn relentless about these open loops. I don't let them go.
So, and you know what, when you give these sort of like casual comments, what I'm hearing is, I'm hearing parts of another belief. So having just heard that, right, now I'm going to pull up one of these empties, right afterwards, and I'm going to start copying. Oh, shoot. Sorry, folks. Let me come back down. That's the
quantum physics version of Microsoft Word.
Yes. Okay, so over here, I'm going to start copying stuff over, and I'm going to go, you're discerning, have some unknowns resolved, and some not resolved yet. Good time to revisit. Now I'm just guessing at this, but again, I've been at this a while, right? So it would take a little longer for someone who was not yet intuitive about this. And I'll test everything with him anyway, right? I'm not making assumptions and then running with them. There's something about relentlessness, which came up for him. I am relentless. Relentlessness. Revisit, get unknowns resolved. So this may be a whole subcloud, or it might just be one belief. Initiate a new conversation with them, get unknowns resolved, something like that. So now I've made assumptions here. I'm going to test them out. So over here, pardon me, over here, one of the actions was choose to revisit sometime later. And you'll leave that partly unresolved at that moment, but you'll choose to revisit it sometime later. So if you're discerning still, and you have some unknowns resolved and some not resolved yet, and it's a good time to revisit the unknowns. I should add, go ahead.
So seeking the truth and resolving open loops is like big in my life, huge thing. So I feel like it's in there in the conditions that it's a compulsion to seek that. So
okay, I don't care that it's a compulsion as a mapper.
Okay.
What I care about is that a compulsion will show up structurally the same as any other belief, except that the intensity of the emotional value will be stronger. And the conditions on the left-hand side of a belief will be less restrictive, meaning they're more likely to fire. Something that is less likely to fire or isn't critically important may have more conditions that prevent it from happening in terms of a belief structure. But if you are relentless, if you are, if this is a critical juncture for you in connecting with somebody, then we need to make sure that it's not a difficult belief to fire, that the way we word the left-hand side is, yeah, it's going to get done. So let's say you're still discerning and you have some unresolved and some not resolved yet. I've got that in caps. That doesn't need to be caps. And it's a good time to revisit the unknowns. Both available, right? Now, again, my words. I need you to think about this and then tell me how to structure it differently. That's going to cause you to initiate a new conversation with them and get the unknowns resolved. And that's about being relentless or relentlessness. So tell me about the conditions. Tell me where I'm off with how I've worded it. So you're discerning, you've got some unknowns resolved and some not resolved yet. And it's a good time now to revisit the unknowns. Let's add now. Because remember, the beliefs are about whatever moment is true, right? So now is, we can put now in every one of these condition sets because it's not going to happen until now becomes a good time.
True.
Great Bandler phrase.
Yeah.
When would now become a good time? But the answer is whenever the conditions are accurate. So what are the conditions under which you would initiate another conversation and get them resolved? Tell me about that moment.
I mean, the way you phrased it completely sums it up, I feel, because, you know, I'm aware that I don't want the conversation or the pursuit to seem forced or aggressive or, you know, one-sided. So I'm sensitive to the nuances of when, but I will still insist. I will just find gentle or subtle ways to do it, and I'll get the timing right. It's important to me not to destroy what has been built, but to make sure that I don't move forward feeling left with doubts or something that I should be protecting myself about, you know. So
Sure.
it's a balance, you know.
Right. Now, I'll tell you as a mapper that that's a lot of information that is really goes into a calculus of what's behind this phrase right here.
Yeah.
What makes for a good time now? You don't want to do it at a time where you might damage the relationship. I'm currently phrasing it as good time now, but there's a whole collection of considerations and cautions that you keep in mind before you decide if something is a good time now.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
So knowing that, is this an acceptable, I mean, like a really acceptable way of representing this?
It is. Yes.
In these circumstances, you're going to initiate another conversation with them and get the unknowns resolved. And that's about relentlessness.